there are products that become companies, and then there are companies that come up with a product. And one of the interesting things you see over the years is that many of the most successful technology franchises were products first, way before they ever became companies. And so just in my own experience, Netscape was a research project, was based on a research project at the University of Illinois that we had worked on for 3 years prior. And in fact, the team had come together at Illinois before we started Netscape. Microsoft, Bill Gates, and Paul Allen were like deep into PCs early on before they even thought there was a software business. Apple, Jobs and Wozniak built the first Apple sort of as hobbyists. More recently, Mark Zuckerberg had Facebook running out of his dorm room, way before he ever thought of starting a company. And then my other favorite example is Twitter. Twitter was a side project at a company called Odeo, and Odeo wasn't working. Twitter was a couple of guys who were basically knew that the Odeo product, which was a podcasting product, was going to fail. And so they were frustrated and unhappy, and so they started the side project Twitter, and it just started to take off. And so the product that becomes a company is a really good template because, and here's my sort of theory on that, is because it's a demonstration that the product has to exist. Like, the market needs the product so badly that somebody actually built it and deployed it, and you can actually see evidence that people want it even before there was an economic motivation to do so. Like, that's market demand. Like, that something magical is going on there at that point. In contrast, great entrepreneurs who kind of, the sort of stereotypical, Hewlett-Packard counterexample, company then product. The original HP Archives put online a while ago, they put the original minutes of the first HP board meeting. And they're great minutes because it's like, it's Mr. Hewlett, Mr. Packard. This was like in the 30s, right? So these guys are really young at the time. And it's like their lawyer and their accountant, whatever. And it's like, assembled in such and such in Palo Alto at 2:48 p.m. And boom, first order of business, cash. Company has $3,000, whatever, in the checking account. It's like topic number 6, product. And it was one line. It said, the product that the company will build has not yet been decided, period. Topic number 7, right? Like, they didn't know. They had like a general idea that there was going to be something to do with electromechanical, something. I mean, this was before the computer. Literally before the computer when they started this thing, right? So they didn't know what it was going to be. And they came up with many good ideas later, but they didn't know. So that's a success case of company first, then product. But we see a lot of failure cases, which is smart entrepreneurs sitting around saying, I really want to start a company, and now let's go try to figure out something interesting and good to do. And it's very easy in that process, we've found, to kind of fool yourself into believing that there's a market and that there's a need. Because you want to find something. You have a very strong motivation, internal motivation to come out with an answer. It's very hard to go through that process for 3 months and then say, we can't come up with any good ideas. Let's just go back to our day jobs. It's a big company of your choice. There's a very strong motivation to kind of fool yourself. And so we're always a little bit leery of those. And in fact, if you track those kind of through fundraising, like, those are often the ones that aren't actually ever able to raise money. Because the VCs can kind of, VCs are good at this kind of thing. They can kind of smell that kind of thing coming. So, moral of the story is it has to be a really good idea. That often will be an idea that is pre-existing at the time you decide to start a company. And if it isn't, be really careful because you're kind of, you're walking on sharp rocks at that point with a high risk of falling, off the cliff into the ocean.